Comic-Con fans are going to be so excited for the guest on today's show.
Ross Mullan, people. Game
Yes.
of Thrones, Doctor Who.
Sharknado 5.
If anyone loves Sharknado.
I do. I mean, and how many Sharknados have you seen?
I think 3.
Okay, I guess they have 5 or at least 5.
I feel like maybe I fell asleep towards, a couple of the other ones.
She actually
maybe
did.
I have seen them all, but I don't remember many of them. Oh, I think the first one was pretty, entertaining just because it was,
It was unique.
That was funny.
It was
but
the
then
one,
they just kept going.
Yeah, but it was the one with the sharks in the air.
Yeah,
so
but, then they wouldn't have Ross Mullan.
That's right. And Game of Thrones.
Yes.
I mean, to be in that show.
I have to say, I haven't seen the last season. And I hear it's really good because apparently I've been living under a rock.
Well, she doesn't want to see the last season.
I don't want it to end.
Because she said, I'm not ready.
No.
So you're not ready for it to end.
No, I don't want it to end. And I'm going to be really sad when it does. But I'm kind of, after we talk with them, I'll probably be going right home right now. Yeah, I'm watching it.
Maybe that's why you haven't seen Sharknado 4 or 5.
Maybe,
you don't want that series to end.
I don't want it to end.
I think that's it. We are going to have Ross Mullan on today. We're so excited. So, again, Game of Thrones fans, Doctor Who fans, Ross Mullan fans,
yes.
Stick around. He's going to be on our show next.
One question before we even start on the interview. I guess the first thing that you had a short in was blowjob.
Best thing.
I was just looking up.
That's hilarious. It's so funny you should mention that because I was just doing a convention this weekend, a Comic-Con in Germany, and I said, you'd be surprised at things that you do that people never bring up in interviews. Like I did this short called Blowjob, and nobody's ever mentioned it. I was kids' TV for years. Well, basically, the story of that is it's not a porno at all. It's a short film about a group of girls discussing blowjobs, and I played their gay best friend. And it wasn't called Blowjob when we were working on the script, but she called it Blowjob when she was putting it out, and promoting it.
I guess
so there it lies. Yeah. There it lies. It's really like a bunch of girls and a gay guy like sitting around talking about blowjobs. That's basically it.
Now I got to see that show.
I know,
that's hilarious. Yeah.
Can you get
it? Good luck finding it.
That's what I'm wondering. It seems like I've never actually heard a title like that. No wonder no one asked you about it, just because it's called.
I'm glad. Good. And I may have lost jobs on behalf of it. I have no idea. It's out there, so
it's worth it right there just for the story, though. So that was worth it. Yeah.
It's great that you actually put that in there. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Oh, I didn't put it there, and I take it away because it's IMDb.
Yeah,
so I have no control over that. It's just out there. Yeah,
fish that stuff out.
I know. Well, that's an actor's life, right? You got to be careful of what you do because you never know what's going to be out there.
You have to be pretty clean cut. I can see that.
Very good point. Well, talking with us today, we're so excited. We have Ross Mullan from Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, Sharknado 5, a cult classic. So he's been in so many iconic shows. We're so excited to have you all the way from, are you coming from Great Britain, United Kingdom?
I am. I live in London. Sorry, I'm kind of losing you. There you go. There you are back again. I think my phone keeps clicking off visually. Yes, I'm in London. I'm in Southeast London, just kind of between Greenwich and Tower Bridge. That's where I live.
That sounds like great fun. I've never visited London, and I would love to actually come and visit.
Oh, well, I'm like literally looking out the window. I can see the London Eye, the big Ferris wheel.
That's really cool.
How amazing. And I'm so excited. Now we have a place to stay.
And do you call it a place? I know. How much room?
This is it. You can see it.
That little square space, huh?
It's small, but we'll all fit in. It'll be nice and cozy.
That's great. On those cold nights.
That's great. And you're the tallest actor we've had a chance to have on our show at 6'4", is that right?
6'4". Although I went to the doctor last year and she said 6'5". And I was like, no way, I'm not growing at the age of 22. And she said, no, but you're here in the morning, and apparently you're taller in the morning than you are in the evening. Isn't that
No
weird?
way.
Because your spine stretches out, and then the pads kind of squish together in between your vertebrae. So apparently I'm 6'5" in the morning, but 6'4" in the evening.
That's great. Well, Lindy's 5'1", so we'll measure in the morning from now on.
Maybe
You're like,
when they measured
maybe
me.
you're 5'11" in the morning. Who knows?
That would be great. That'd be great.
That's great. So now you're from is it Montreal? Is that right?
Montreal originally, yeah.
Perfect. So a couple of questions for me to get started. What kind of got you interested in acting, and then what made you decide, okay, I'm going to London, and that's where I'm going to make it happen?
I got into acting like at a really young age. I loved cartoons when I was a kid. I loved Scooby-Doo, and I always wanted to be a monster on Scooby-Doo. And my mom said, no, you can't be a monster on Scooby-Doo, but you can be an actor. So I suddenly became obsessed with acting. And then I pestered my parents for many, many years, and they eventually put me into private classes. When I was 13, I went to a place called the Children's Theatre in Montreal, where William Shatner had studied when he was a child.
Wow.
Star Trek fame, so I follow in very good big footsteps. And then I went on to drama school, and then after drama school, I just kind of was a bit bored. And my father's from Northern Ireland, so I have a British and an Irish passport. I got those passports and came over here on holiday, literally taking some time off, and fell in love with London and stayed. That's my story, and that's how I ended up in London. Then my career just kind of took off here. I started working with Jim Henson's company, The Muppets. I trained as a puppeteer here. I also just got an agent really quickly and started touring musicals all over Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. And then I got picked up by an agent who put me forward for a Hallmark miniseries called Dinotopia, where I was asked to play a dinosaur in what was the early stages of motion capture. And the director of that was from Montreal, weirdly, and he had actually seen me in a show in Ottawa. And that began my world of monster playing and creature playing.
Really...
But I proved my mother wrong. See, she said I could never play a monster. And
that's right.
Yeah, I am like a Scooby-Doo monster guy now.
Yeah, times 10, because he's scary. I mean, when you're all up in your makeup,
Yeah.
That's
I know.
So, so when you got started with Jim Henson and as a puppeteer, were you training and then decided to go into acting, or were you a puppeteer for quite a while with Jim Henson?
Well, basically, I started training with them. Sorry, I keep losing your visual. There you are. Yeah, I started training with them, and I trained with them for 3 months. I was trained by Kevin Clash, who played Elmo for many, many years on Sesame Street. But after 3 months, I got like really itchy feet, and I just thought, I really don't want to do this. I didn't really enjoy puppeteering. So I left, and I started doing musicals all around Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. But then in the early 2000s, like I guess around 2005, I got asked to puppeteer again it was 2001. I got asked to puppeteer for a play, a show called The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde here. And then when I did that, I got picked up by the BBC to puppeteer a little bear on a very popular television show called Bear Behaving Badly here. And I puppeteered this little bear called Nev for 6 years on the BBC over here. And it's still very retro and does reruns over here. And from there on, I just kind of started working, with monsters, creatures. It was kind of I think it was just like written in the stars that I was meant to sort of play other beings other than the human.
Do you think it had something to do with how tall you are? I mean, I feel like monsters can be very, like large.
Yeah.
They can be really large. I think it does have some of it, like there are certain height requirements, especially when I was playing the White Walker, or even when I started out, I played a witch in Clash of the Titans, and they wanted a very tall witch. So she looked really, what do you call it? intimidating
Yes.
to Sam Worthington, who I was playing off of. He's quite a lot shorter than me. Yeah, I don't know. Tall has a lot to do with it. I'm also a very physical performer. So if you saw me, I move around a lot. I use my whole body when I work. And I think this is something to do with it a little bit. Yeah.
Do you also do stunts?
I do a little bit of stunt, or I did for a while anyway. I mean, I did all my own riding when I was in Game of Thrones. They sent me out on horseback riding lessons for months before I would ever film. And in Clash of the Titans, I did all my fight sequences myself. But I'm not a stunt guy. I'm not licensed, and I wouldn't ever really want to jump off a building or go into a big fire or anything like that. And I actually, after 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, really, it sort of halted for me because they started hiring stunt guys to play the White Walkers. So I did seasons 2, 3, and 4. Now, near the end, they had Vlad, who's a really big stunt guy, playing the Night King and a lot of the other key roles for the White Walkers, because there was just too much work to do.
So they just booted you?
Well, kind of. I was invited back for season 5, but I was actually working on a movie called A Monster Calls at the time. That was with Liam Neeson and Sigourney Weaver, Liam Neeson, Felicity Jones. I was helping Liam Neeson. He was playing a tree in the movie, and I was helping him with his motion capture.
A tree?
Tree, yeah. It's a it's a beautiful movie called A Monster Calls, and it's about a little boy whose mother is dying of cancer, and he befriends a tree in his garden who tells him parables. It's really beautiful. You should check it out.
Okay,
Really
I didn't even know it was out. I've never even heard that.
Neat.
Again,
Yeah,
though,
it's
we
a great-
don't have time to watch TV.
But who knew when you first got started, I want to be acting. I'm going to be able to be the best tree coach ever.
Well, it was a little bit like that on set because, Liam was going, "How did I do?" And I was like, "Man, it's like the ultimate acting job. You're being asked to be a tree."
How does that even
We all
work?
covered it in drama school, pretend you're a tree. This is it.
That's right. Mrs. Robinson's 5th grade class now comes back to haunt you.
I'm a tree.
Yes.
The only other actor that was big was in a tree. It was actually Get Smart, and it was Bill Murray.
Was a tree. That's
it was
right.
a tree. I don't know if you saw that. And it was Smart with
Because see, when I was a kid in school and plays, that's where they used to stick kids in the back if you couldn't act. So I am a tree and I would just have to stay there, but I had no lines.
Well, you got to catch this movie because he's a much bigger role than just in the background. He's really cool in it. Yeah,
And
Liam did an awesome job.
'cause
Pardon?
what did you play in Monsters Call?
I just really assisted with the motion capture that Liam was doing, and which he needed none of, really. He was a good enough monster. But yeah, I was, just helping do pickups and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, got it now.
That is great. Now, when you did Game of Thrones, actually, first let me backtrack to the Clash of the Titans because that was first. How is the audition? Do they go in and say, "Hey, we've seen you before. We know you can do this. Just come in," or do you have to audition just like a typical acting role would be?
With Clash of the Titans, I just had to audition for a typical role. I was actually going up for the Jin Warrior, which was eventually played by Ian White, who's about a foot taller than me. He's a great actor, good friend of mine, and perfectly cast in it. When I got into the audition room, they'd already seen him. And so Lucinda Syson, the casting director, said to me, "Listen, we've already seen somebody that we're probably going to be going with, unfortunately. However, we're casting men to play the witches because we want somebody very tall to play one of the witches, and the prosthetic build is going to be really difficult. So would you be interested in auditioning for one of the blind witches in it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." They described the characters to me, let me do a read of the scene. And then they said, really, they just wanted to turn the camera on and see what I would come up with. They wanted something terrifying. They wanted something, sort of macabre, really unusual, strange. They also wanted something a bit funny and also a bit sexy. So they really had a lot of mishmash in there of what they wanted. And I thought, look no further. I'm excited to do this role. So I just, I took off my shoes and socks and I said, yeah, put the camera on me for 5 minutes. And I did my best sexy, scary, hilarious, blind witch acting that I could do. And they were like, everybody was nodding at each other afterwards, going, okay, that was pretty good. That's how I got that role. The makeup team on that film ended up being the same makeup team on Game of Thrones. So when I was brought in to be seen for the White Walker, they had already worked with me, and they wanted to really just kind of run it past me and see what I could come up with for the White Walker movement wise. So a very similar thing. They kind of talked me through the character, what they thought they might like to see, but they weren't really sure because it hadn't been shot yet, obviously. Showed me pictures of the White Walker, showed me drawings they had, spoke about him, and then just turned the camera on for 5 minutes, and I just kind of improvised a character around those ideas. You just kind of go in and you have to be willing to play. That's kind of
good way to put it.
Job anyway, as an actor, is just go in and have fun, play, make it up.
It almost seems like they have no clue really what they're looking for. They just have a list of things that they think they might want.
Yeah, it is. Well, they're creatives, so they have an idea, but it is a collaboration. So you're collaborating with people on their ideas that they're not able to maybe develop physically. So you listen to what their imagination is, and then you try to kind of, especially if there's no script, it's very difficult. If the character's not speaking, like in the case of the White Walker, all you have to go on is imagination, drawings, and maybe photographs. Like they showed me loads of photographs of warriors, tribal warriors that have lived all through time, from South America to Africa to Native American in the 1800s. There was a combination of things that they were looking for in that character. And I was only a minor part of helping them develop that idea, really.
Wow.
Ultimately, we all just come together and kind of create something that hopefully will work. And in this instance, it did. So that's great,
Well, the prosthesis and everything too, though. I mean, was that something that was thought out before, or was that kind of more of a creative collaboration?
That was pretty thought out before, but we did some screen tests. So there were a few different, different options that they had on it that they showed to HBO, and HBO said, yeah, well, it's good, but just a little harder or a little softer. I think if you Google the screen tests, you can see some of the screen test versions of the White Walker. I think originally they had me with like a little fur cape, which just looked a little too grand. And his hair was really not disheveled. He looked very proud, but they wanted something scragglier and a bit harder, a little more threatening, I think. Yeah.
What? That's exciting. Now, so the makeup that you had to wear and all the different gear that they put you in, how early would you have to show up for this? And how long did you have to stay in makeup like
He's smiling like he's heard this question.
Well, I show up at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And the makeup team show up at midnight. So the makeup team are there setting up an hour before I get there. I show up at 1 o'clock in the morning. It takes them 5 hours to build the character. And then it's a 12-hour shoot after that. And then it takes 2 hours for us to de-rig, so take it all off, and then go back to the hotel. We'll have like a glass of wine, a little cry, go and have a nap, then get back in the chair in a couple of hours later,
Goodness. Now, how long, whenever you would film for a season, how long did they keep you there?
Probably about a week, I think, per season. I was there. Yeah, for a few days. For my scenes, seasons 2, 3, and 4, we were there. I was pretty much there for a week. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, you were going like 24 hours and have like maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, you are. And by the end of the week, you are zonked. You are completely out of it. It's like, you can't. And with that costume on, I can't really be on my phone or do anything. So I do feel very isolated from the world just on set. It's and I'm very well looked after by the makeup team and also the production team. But really, like, I feel like I've just, after I've finished shooting a lot of scenes like that, it's weird. It's a very weird feeling because you don't have the freedom you have as an actor on set to just kind of walk down to the canteen and chill.
I would have done that.
You're just like, yeah, you're just like Exactly. Go to the pub. Hey.
Best.
Yeah, but when you're dressed like that, you're really like constant care. It's like you're a baby. People are constantly touching you up and looking after you. It's hard to feed yourself. It's hard to go to the
So you're
toilet
saying that someone actually spoon fed you, literally?
spoon feed you, and going to the toilet is difficult too. I'll
God.
leave it right there.
Yeah,
It's
no,
easy
I
to
can
do on your own.
Hey, sure. Hey, new guy. Your job
It
is to help
has
the
to be really, really well timed. Really well timed going to the toilet.
I can see that. So what is some of the, I guess, the weirdest things you had to wear on makeup or prosthesis, or anything that they had to do to keep it on throughout? Is there anything bizarre that you're like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought they had to do that to keep you looking that way?
Not really. It's always all a bit so weird. But I guess like the hardest thing is the contact lenses, because they are actually not normal contact lenses. They're actually fitted for my eye. So I have to go in to have a fitting where they scan your eye, and then the contact lens then covers my entire eyeball. So I can't put it in myself. It has to be put in by an optometrist and removed by an optometrist. And it's very uncomfortable, and I find that the hardest bit. Yeah, that would be the most awkward one. And whenever I do a creature and they say, "Oh, we're gonna have you with contact lenses," and I just think, "Oh no."
no,
I'm
you're
like a
in
baby.
contract.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
have to wear
I don't
glasses.
I don't mind. Yeah, yeah, the White Walker with glasses would be hilarious.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I don't mind being in makeup for 5 hours or staying up for 24 hours a day, but man, I hate contact lenses. They drive me nuts.
I can only imagine. I mean, even the small ones are irritating. I could only
Yeah.
imagine the whole eyeball being covered.
The other one that's odd is if you play, like I've played a few monsters like aliens and characters in Doctor Who that are animatronic heads. So they put like a whole head on you that is like buzzing, and it's like the faces have to be manipulated by a puppeteer offset. So he's controlling it with a little gearbox, and that's challenging. You know, it's like sitting with your it's like sitting in with your head inside of a big computer that's constantly whirring and whizzing and making little noises, and you have a little earpiece in so you can hear instructions and stuff. It can be very hot, and it can be really like you don't know where you're going. It's very disorienting. But
so you're basically blind in the mask.
Pardon?
You're basically blind when you're wearing that.
You can be. Not with the White Walker, I wasn't blind, but with my characters in Doctor Who, I was certainly. It just depends on the character. It just depends on the creature, you know, of what the requirement will be. You just don't know.
What season were you in Doctor Who? Were you in a few seasons?
Yeah, I played the Silence in one of Matt Smith's last seasons, the very last season that he worked on the show. And then I also played a character called the Teller, which was in Peter Capaldi's first season. So those were two doctors I worked with there. Those are my two. Oh yeah, that was really exciting. I mean, I'd never really followed the show much, but I love the universe, if you know what I mean. I've been living here for a very long time, and I'm very familiar with the impact it's had on British culture. So being part of that family is really quite exciting over here. And I knew that it would also be life-changing for me, that I would be, you know, now I travel all over the world for Doctor Who conventions, and it's just wonderful. I get amazing fan mail from people, and it's a fantastic universe to be a part of, really.
I know. I've never actually watched Doctor Who, but I know of it. So many people love it.
I've seen bits and pieces of different seasons throughout because it's gone on so long. Natalie would watch some of it.
Yeah,
and
that's our daughter.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Doctor Who
I would also say to you, with Doctor Who, it's not one of those shows that you have to go back and start watching it from like 1962. You're not going to be like, the great thing about Doctor Who is you can pick it up anywhere. So you can just start watching. You know, I would start with Jodie Whittaker's season. She's just the new Doctor from last season, and I started watching it properly in her season, and I loved it. And I don't really know all the backstory, but you can always pick it up. It's a family show, and it's made for families, for young people to watch, and they are aware of their older audiences. But it's a great show for families. So it's one of those shows like creepy kid. You know, it's creepy monsters, but they're not so creepy that kids can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
We even have a Doctor Who nightlight upstairs at our house, so we do have that.
Okay.
Have you ever taken the time to think that, in my opinion, the three most iconic series or movies coming out of England, Harry Potter, Doctor Who, and Game of Thrones, that two of those three most iconic people know in the world, you're a part of? Have you ever really taken time to think about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a big phenomenon for me because, where there's, I just did this convention on the weekend and there was a whole bunch of us that had crossovers. So if you're in both of those shows, then certain fans really freak. They're like, they come and they love the fact that you're in both of these shows. Like, so I talked to a lot of fans this past weekend who were like, I'm so glad you're here and Liam Cunningham's here and so-and-so's here and so-and-so's here because you were all in Game of Thrones and Doctor Who, which is just mind-blowing for some people. Yeah. It's like, I get that. I understand that. Like as an avid television watcher myself, I love kind of crossovers. I love when people cross over. I love it when, I don't know, I love it when one of the Real Housewives of New York goes on Beverly Hills. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. God, crossovers are everything to fans, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's so much fun to see someone and recognize them. Of course, I know you have to be out of makeup, but yet they're going to know when they know who you are. Did you film Sharknado? Did you do that in the United States?
No, I did that here.
Oh, wow.
Sharknado?
Yeah, I shot that here. So they got in touch with me via Facebook Messenger and just said, hi, we're producing, I don't know if you know Sharknado 5, like the Sharknado movies. And I was like, yeah, I totally know them. And they just said, well, we're looking for a Game of Thrones actor who's willing to be in our Sharknado movie. And I was like, look no further. I will go to the opening of an envelope if you pay me. So I'll put you in touch with my agent. And that's how we did it. They actually shot my scenes and the scenes that took place at Buckingham Palace at a castle just down the road from me called in Croydon, which I didn't even know they had a castle there. And they did all the Houses of Parliament scenes and all the Buckingham Palace scenes there. Because in Sharknado 5, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's when the Sharknado suddenly goes global. So the Sharknado hits London, Paris, Amsterdam, all of that. So that's how we go.
We've seen the first, I think, 3 or 4.
Yeah, we've seen a lot, but
I love those kind of movies, though. They're so silly, It's wonderful to watch.
I have a scene with Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek. Mm-hmm. So Uhura from the original Star Trek.
Yeah,
she's in my scene. And my assistant is played by Abby Lee Miller from Dance Moms.
Oh my goodness!
Of course. Is she out of jail?
Is she out of jail?
We shot our scenes 2 days before she was put in jail.
Oh my goodness! Did she know trouble was coming?
She did. I think they let her go and do it so that she could make some money to pay off what she owed.
Okay, I was like, or she could make
bail.
Maybe,
yeah. So did she scream and have an attitude and tell you were doing it wrong?
No, she did scream. Well, when she finds out that my character is killed, she says, "What's happened to Dr. Woebegone?" And they said, "He just got eaten." And she said, "Everybody's replaceable." And then she gets eaten.
I've only watched a few shows of hers, and I mean, she's the character.
That's
for
great.
sure.
So you travel around the world literally at different fan events and Comic-Cons and things like that. What is that like when you actually kind of get to be out of character, yet people know you as a character and you get to engage with the fans?
It's really lovely for me because I'm not recognizable on the street. I'm not recognizable when I get on the bus. I can go to restaurants. It's not a problem. So it's not overwhelming for me, like it can be for some people. So for me, it's a little treat. I go away for the weekend and I'm suddenly like really, recognizable for the people who are attending the event.
Mhm.
In Dortmund, for instance, I was like kind of just mobbed at the airport when I was leaving by people who knew that I was there. And I thought, why? I kind of thought, well, I'm a bit relieved that I don't get this all the time because that would be really, yeah, I guess it could be.
Overwhelming.
I can see how it can be overwhelming for people, always having to sit at the back of the restaurant with your back to the room, sort of thing. So for me, it's really easy to do the convention circuit. I really love it. I think it's a lot of fun. And I'm only dipping in, for a couple of days. And then I'm back home and I'm back to my regular life. And it's just things as ever, like just doing my regular stuff. I do voiceovers, I do a lot of stuff. So yeah.
How fun is it though when people may not recognize you for in the back of your mind to say, I'm kind of a big deal.
If you didn't know.
Sure.
I know. Well, most of the time, if there's like a celebrity, which of course, here in Oklahoma, they don't come here. But usually whenever you hear someone saying, oh, who's that? You're just like, I just want to follow the crowd because someone's there, I just
That's
want to
right.
see who it is.
It's weird. When Game of Thrones first started airing my scenes, my stuff, my work, I was sat in a Vietnamese restaurant just literally on the corner here down by my house. And a couple next to me were having a conversation, and she was saying to her boyfriend, have you seen the last episode yet? And he was like, no, I haven't. She was like, oh my God, she was like, it's mind blowing. There's these characters called the White Walkers, and they appear for the first time, and they look so horrifying. I was sitting there just eating my lunch going, oh my God, that's me. Like, she has no idea, but I'm sat right next to her.
With her in the background,
I so wanted to go, oh, by the way, that's me.
Oh,
She just,
yeah.
what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
You look
whatever.
nothing like the White Walker.
I know.
So what, you said you do voiceovers, you travel, you do a lot of things. What are you working on right now or about to work on that you're really excited about that you can share?
Oh, well, I'm doing two really wonderful projects. My first project I'll talk about is I'm producing for the first time a short film based on a play I did last year called Pocketful of Bread, which was written in the 1980s in Romania. And it was written during the Ceausescu reign. So it's a very political sort of waiting for Godot story. And it's really cool and it's quite funny. I'm shooting that in February, right after I shoot a movie which is called The Wretched. And that is a vampire film. And that's going to be a project that I'm doing starting middle of January for a while. I'm going to be on that. And it's a great role. And I'm not in prosthetics. And I am playing the vampire in it. So
Yay.
gotta kind of look out for that. It's an amazing piece. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a fantastic story. It's very sad, sort of terrifying, and also romantic and classical. It'll be more like classical style, although it's set in modern times. So I'll leave you.
That's what makes me think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of that, and almost throw in a little bit of Nosferatu, the original vampire movie from the 1920s. A little bit of that style.
That will be coming here too. Will that
I
movie?
hope so. I don't know. That's not my department, but yeah, that's distribution's department. Hopefully it does.
That is great. So it seems like though, when you mention a character, it's never just one dimensional. It's always you throw in a little this, a little sexy, a little scary, and a little romantic, and a little crazy. And, it's very complex. Do you actually think about all of that, or is it just that's how you act and it just comes out?
Yeah, well, you do think about that. That's what rehearsal's for, Like I have a meeting this week on Thursday with the director producer. We will talk about the character, the ideas, and then I can give them a little bit of the idea of what I've gleaned from the script. I'll read a little bit for them. We can discuss that. They can discuss more ideas. I'll try and layer it. Like I said, it's a collaboration, I think. I think that would be probably the same way that anybody works on the Joker or Renée Zellweger and Judy. You kind of just try to you put something out there, and the director helps you shape that. And then when you start filming, once you've decided what you like or what you think is working, you just start shooting it. And then they watch playback, and they just kind of decide whether we want to change anything. Because once after you've decided to, let's go with this is where we're going with this character. Once you start shooting day after day after day, you can't change things, right? So in the beginning, you want to just go, is this working? Is this how we want to go with this character? And that's the fun bit. You know, that's where the actor gets to play a bit and says, like, you know, I can do this or I can try that. And they just go, oh yeah, that doesn't work, or that does. You know, it's just kind of trial and error, really.
Well, that's cool. You know, this whole time we've been rehearsing, so now we can actually record the
Yeah, we'll
conversation.
start now. Too.
I know. We thought we were joking about just keeping it really short.
That's right. Do you ever make it to the States?
Yeah, I do. I come over to the States a lot. I'm actually doing a convention in Albuquerque in New Mexico in January, just before I start filming.
What's the convention? Is it like
I don't know, literally called, I think, Albuquerque Comic-Con or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something really clever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's only a state away. Maybe we can pop down and see you then. It's only a state.
We've never been to a Comic-Con. I'd love to go.
Oh, you would love them. And you could get a lot of podcast people out of them. I mean, people come around and do podcasts. Sometimes, actually, like in German Comic-Con, what they did this weekend is they actually set up a little booth at the Comic-Con, and they just brought the actors in one at a time over the weekend, and they would just do a little podcast with them.
How fun.
That would be fun.
He just gives us an idea.
I know, right?
Now we owe him.
You can actually reach out and touch them then.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to have to pay you fees now going forward.
Exactly.
I've really, really enjoyed getting to have you on.
It's been great.
And I can't wait to see when your short comes out and The Wretched, and then maybe we can circle back when they come out in a year and see what you're working on next, if that's okay.
I would love that. But you didn't ask me your key question, the one that you're most known for.
Okay. Let's hear it.
What did I miss? Like, what was it? What's the title of your?
My big break almost.
You didn't. What was my big break almost?
It's so funny because we got into all the successes so fast, and there's so many that we didn't circle back. So, all right, I'm so glad that he pays attention.
A lot of stuff I missed out on.
Okay, well, we're going to touch on a few, but what are a couple of the highlights that you're like, okay, these 3 or 2, I was so close.
Yeah, I was. Do you know Hellboy? The original Hellboy?
Hellboy.
So, yeah, well, I auditioned for Abe the Fishman for, I guess, about 4 weeks before Guillermo del Toro went with the really fantastic choice of Doug Jones, because he's so skinny, much skinnier than I am. So that's why, when you build a prosthetic, the problem is the prosthetic makes you look bigger than you are, obviously, because they're building on top of you. So he really wanted somebody quite skinny. I was a lot skinnier then. That was back in the early 2000s. But, he went with Doug. And I completely understood that, of course. Guillermo's fantastic, and I got to meet him at the audition. So I was gutted. I was so gutted that I didn't get that. That was a big one. Yeah. My other one was Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I auditioned for that. I auditioned for that for months and months and months and months and months. But eventually, in the end, they obviously went with what's his name? I am Groot, the guy who's
I don't even know who plays Groot. Okay. I thought it was all computer CGI.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it was a person.
It is, but they needed someone to do all the motion capture on it, right?
Oh.
So I was auditioning for
me now, because I'm gonna look. I'm gonna think, Ross should have been playing that part.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
It should have been me.
So did they say that? Did they say, you came this close, but this other guy?
I knew it. It was Vin Diesel. That's who plays Groot.
That's right. Yeah. You can take Diesel. That's no problem. My money's on you. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's right.
Yeah, we better not run into me in a dark corner one night. No way.
That's right. I can just see him whooping up on Ben. I am Groot. I am Groot. So when you're auditioning for months, I mean, usually
Yeah.
it seems like it's much shorter. They say, you got the part, let's go. How come they stretched it out so long?
Well, that's always a sure sign that you're probably not going to get it, in my opinion, because usually if they haven't made their decision really fast, I usually feel like there's something that's hesitating them from just booking me right away for the job. But they keep having you back and they keep having you back and keep having you back. But sometimes it does work out in your favor. Sometimes it does. But these things also, are just the way of the business. And I'm a very pragmatic person. I just kind of think what's meant to be is meant to be. What's mine is mine, and what's not mine is someone else's. And that's fantastic. I have no ill feelings towards Doug Jones or Vin Diesel or those projects at all, because I think ultimately they are fantastic characters too, like the White Walker and like my characters on Doctor Who. So,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
have to wonder on who was the almost for White Walker.
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard a few versions because I've met some actors who said, I thought I was going to be the White Walker. And, you
And
never know. I'm
Too
like, I
bad.
don't know.
Yeah,
And I mean, when I went into my audition for Game of Thrones, I literally walked in and I went, I'm here for King of Thrones. And they were like, it's Game of Thrones. I was like, oh, is it a game?
That could be a new start
Spin-off.
of yes.
Hello.
go, the King of Thrones
I
now.
didn't think I was going to get it at all because I was like completely clued out. I'd never heard of it, never heard of the books. They're like, it's based on books. I was like, there's books?
I know, right? Have you seen the books?
Yeah,
They're huge.
no, they're like that thick.
Yeah. So that's like somebody going, so I'm here to audition for Henry Potter. Is that a new show?
Exactly.
I am so glad that you reminded us what our own podcast was about. But this is what happens when you get really excited about somebody.
Yeah, he's the one that's supposed to remember all this
Yeah,
stuff.
I get off on a tangent because it's so fascinating hearing all this stuff about you.
I know.
Cool.
Yeah, like your list is, it was short, but man, they need, what is this again?
IMDb, they compacted it all, but you've done so many in that compaction.
Yeah, they need to have more recognition in this page.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Get after them. They'll never answer your emails. They never answer mine.
Oh, you've been delightful. I really, really appreciate you being on,
yes.
Ross.
Is there one,
Thanks for having me on the show.
real quick, is there another almost for you that you didn't mention?
Oh God, there is so many. I mean, your career is full of rejections. And if you have any accolades, man, you're lucky. So I feel very blessed. I can't really think of any other one that really stands out to me.
Well, we can circle it back after you come out with these other,
the other projects.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll circle back and then
then
see
you
if
can
there's any
start
other.
to yeah.
I'll highlight them in my mind this year because I'm sure I'll go up for stuff that I won't get this year as well. So you never know.
Yeah, well, hopefully not, but if you do, at least bury it in the back of your mind and go, okay,
Yeah.
Paul and Lindy, next time I talk, that's what we're going to talk
Story, guys.
That's right. Thank you so much. Again, Ross Mullan, we really, really enjoyed having you on, and we can't wait to see what you do next.
Great. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right. Bye. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of tired just all the stuff he's had to go through.
It's been pretty, he's had a pretty good career.
Yeah, and just the fact that all the stuff he has to do in makeup and character.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm worn out, and I didn't even have to do it.
Mm-mm.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And to me, what's fascinating is it seems like it's a different mindset that when he's an actor, he may get a script and he has to prepare. And when he's a monster or a character, all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's what we're thinking, go. And he just has to improvise on the spot.
That would be pretty intimidating. I don't even know if I could do that. I mean, just doing this on the spot is pretty difficult.
But you're amazing. You
Yeah,
work with a
well,
monster and you got
Thank
it
you.
down.
This is
so.
not about me. This is about Ross here. Okay. So, he's done a whole lot, and it was really shocking that we actually forgot to ask him about his roles and, the almost
Yeah.
roles.
It's not like that's not the name of our
I know.
podcast, but that's what happens when you get excited going over Game of Thrones and Doctor Who and all the different things.
Well,
he's
it
been.
almost seems like he didn't really have an almost, that he
Yeah.
got everything that he, not necessarily wanted, but, he easily got those roles. I'm sure he didn't easily get those roles, but still,
It
it's
seemed
kind of like all fallen in place for him.
and I think that's the way he made it sound. It's
Yeah.
just nonchalant. Nothing's too
Yeah.
big of a deal to him, and I like that personality aspect that he provides. I don't think I could ever watch Groot now without thinking, oh man, Ross would have been awesome.
I know, but Vin Diesel's also awesome too.
He is, but
and the fact that he has no ill will towards anyone that he's kind of lost out on. I mean, I'd probably be boiling inside, and I wouldn't be able to.
I would, but it's just. I think because Ross is nice and has been on our show and Vin hasn't, I wanted Ross to have that part. He deserved that part.
So, and then maybe we can ask Vin Diesel, because maybe Vin Diesel has something where he's like, yeah, I almost missed out on that role if Ross wasn't,
That's true. Yeah. Maybe Ross took a part. Maybe Vin Diesel would have been a White Walker.
Yeah.
And Ross got that part. That's what we're going to assume. Not as tall as Ross at 6'4". Maybe, Ben is not as tall.
And we found out if you want to go to the doctor and you want to get the maximum height.
Yeah!
Go in the morning.
That's right. How does that work on weight, I wonder?
Same way, I think. Same way. It's I don't know, you burn calories when you sleep.
Do your weight and height in the morning.
Yeah. I'm going to have to do that because I don't think I've done that yet.
So from now on, any photo shoots we do, 4 in the morning so I can be as tall as I can be.
Well, I don't know about that.
4:30 in the morning, so I can be as small as I can be. But Ross was so much fun. Again, I want to go to a Comic-Con just so I can see him and just interact even more.
Well, I think we just have to actually now go as a podcast, and then that way we can see him, and maybe we can flag him down, like, hey, you remember us?
That's right. Oh, okay. If we go to a Comic-Con, though, you can't go looking like this. You got to dress up as characters.
Oh, I was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. I know, I look amazing, but not for a Comic-Con. So we're going to have to go as characters if we go.
You got to go as the White Walker?
Oh, yeah. I'm
already
white.
Jon Snow.
You go as Jon Snow. You can go as the Dragon Lady.
Oh, Daenerys.
Yeah. Yes. You can go as a Dragon Lady. And I'll go as a White Walker. I'm pale enough already. I just need my hair's a little messed up. So I think I'm halfway there. That may be our characters now for Comic-Con.
I know. So hopefully, if we ever actually get together Comic-Con and, Ross happens to be there, maybe we can also do a live interview. Yeah. That would be really cool.
That would be fun.
He didn't say no.
That's right.
I don't think he said yes either. So I don't know. We'll have to put it out there.
That restraining order he has against us just means he's playing hard to get. That's all that means.
Is that why we couldn't interview him in person?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
It had nothing to do with him being in London.
No, not within 1,000 feet. Yeah, he's actually 1,001 feet in another building.
But he did say he could share his little corner space with us.
Yeah, so we have a place to go in London. Yeah, we have to share a little love seat, but that's okay.
It's a little cramped for me. Maybe I'll get a hotel and you can go in as well. Stay the night.
I just love it. Knock on the door. Ross! Slam. So anyway, that was our podcast with Ross Mullan, and it was more fun than I thought it would even be, and I had high expectations.
Yes, thank you so much for letting us talk with you, Ross. It was great. I loved it.
It was. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did, and I hope you stick around for next week with another surprise guest on My Big Break Almost.